LA Noire is a puzzle/action/mystery game set in 1940s LA. You play as Cole Phelps, badge 1247, as he rises through the ranks of the LAPD. With each chapter, your boss assigns you a new crime to solve, and with each promotion, a new and larger mystery to investigate. If you're wondering if this 10-year-old game is still fun and playable, the answer is a resounding yes. If you're wondering if it's good for casual gamers, the answer is also a resounding yes. There was some mild jank, but overall, it was a really unique experience. Our protagonist, Cole, is a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed cop. Someone who still tries to hold on to his ideals, even when he sees the worst of humanity in the various cases he's tasked with solving, and as he grapples with his trauma from the war. He starts off as a beat cop, but every 5 or so chapters you receive a promotion with a new flavor of cases to solve and a new partner by your side.
It's got that kick of adrenaline.
There's an overarching game-long story which is told only through flashbacks and cutscenes for the first half of the game, as well as a mystery to unravel for each job you hold. The second half is when the threads start to come together, so if you're partway through and wondering if the overarching story will pay off, it absolutely will. The story really picks up in the last handful of chapters. There are some fantastic twists towards the end which kept me engaged, right as the missions were starting to feel a little bit samey. You can take a lot of time on the investigation parts of the game. It doesn't rush you, which I appreciated given I'm kind of a slow gamer. They do ratchet up the tension in action sequences so you don't become too bored. That being said, I wish the pacing had been a bit more consistent and balanced in switching between the current case, the overarching story, the investigation bits, and the action bits, because those last few chapters got that mix just right, and it felt so good to play. Those chapters were so exciting and exhilarating, but not too exhilarating for a cozy gamer like me. As for the characters and side characters, I found them to be realistic and full of life. It felt like the people of interest had real motivations behind their truths or half-truths. They're not lying for the sake of lying, or because the game requires it of them. It feels like they have stakes here too. Protecting their loved ones, preserving their public image, or maybe they've just shut down because Cole took a much too aggressive stance with them.
You come into my house to insult
It
and
felt
bully
great
me?
to be able to have a full conversation with consequences with what is essentially an NPC. Gameplay generally consists of interrogating witnesses and walking around the crime scene in order to pick up clues, which are added to your handy notebook. The game is unique in that it was one of the first to use facial tracking, so when you question people of interest, you can take a guess at whether they're lying by the clearly guilty look on their face. Occasionally, the game mixes it up and asks you to participate in a shootout, a car chase, or a stealth mission. Controls were relatively streamlined. You don't get a jump or climb button. As you approach potential obstacles, the game does it for you. You also don't have to worry about whipping out your gun or beating people up unless the game clearly tells you that now is the time for this. Gameplay tips would appear in the top left corner regardless of how far into the game I was, which was pretty helpful because I didn't use all the skills I picked up in each chapter, so I absolutely would have forgotten what button to press. The shootouts weren't the focus of the game, so I appreciated that they weren't too fiddly, though I never really did get the hang of rounding corners. There were no health bars, no med kits to pick up, no multitude of ammo types, and only a few different guns that you had the option of picking up. The visual cues that you were losing or regaining health were pretty intuitive, too. You also generally didn't have to drive, which was great because I was terrible at it. Unless there was a car chase, you could get your partner to drive. The game doesn't have an easy mode, but neither does it punish you. It allows you to proceed through the story using a number of tactics. Firstly, the game has a couple of hint features. When you approach a crime scene clue, there are hint chimes and, if you're using a controller, rumbling. For some reason, I kept forgetting what the chime sounded like, but the rumble helped out a lot. You can also earn intuition points, which can help narrow down the right answer in an interview or highlight the clues in a crime scene on your minimap. I didn't use it too much as I didn't get many points, but the option is still there. Secondly, for action sequences like car chases or shootouts, you can try 3 times before the game will ask if you want to skip the sequence. This was great because while I could take my time and think about the interview portions, I wasn't so great at the action sequences, especially at the beginning. The game still allowed me to proceed and enjoy the story. Finally, and I think this is the most important and the most interesting, you can finish each case in a number of different ways, and you don't need to get everything correct to put the bad guys away. The exaggerated facial expressions when a witness is lying are a meme at this point, but I still got a ton of questions wrong. For someone whose career relies on people skills, I'm shockingly bad at this. Even with my poor deduction skills, I wasn't locked out of progressing, and I got to fail upwards like so many others in the LAPD. When you finish a case, you're essentially graded on how you did, and there's a short blurb about the ending and whether there was a better outcome to be had, like more criminals behind bars. You still get to finish the case though. I also love the fact that the game can be as much or as little as you make it. There are street crimes, segments where you can take a break from the case to shoot some baddies. These are optional and you can ignore them if you like I did. You can also simply drive around LA and discover famous landmarks for more experience points. That being said, the world isn't too open, so you don't feel overwhelmed with things to do. Overall, while the game wasn't necessarily easy, it was generous and gave me space to enjoy the setting and the mysteries. The pacing, while occasionally slow, was bolstered by the variety of action sequences at the climax of each chapter. LA Noire is a really unique blend of puzzles, action, and narration which I haven't seen in other games as of yet. Give it a try, and don't be scared by its presentation. There's something in here for everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Hey, you!
You don't care who gets in your way, do you?
Was he the criminal?